No, I never did that. That's all in your head. You're too sensitive. Don't get upset over nothing. You're so dramatic. You remember things wrong. You need some help. Welcome to the mess.
On the surface she looks fine, but what's inside ain't always in line. Life is good, life is bad. She's a mess, but a happy one.
Hi, I'm littlehappymess and welcome to my podcast. Storytime. Hello and welcome to episode 19. 19? 19! This episode is about gaslighting. Gaslighting is very important to me because I have been falling a gaslighting victim far too often in my life. And I'm 100% sure I'm not the only one. There's so many people out there who are in gaslighting relationships, whether it be romantic relationships or family relationships or work relationships. It's so present that we think that's even normal, or in the perception of people who are exposed to it, it's normal because usually it's been a long history and those people have been experiencing it in other areas too. So now it's in a job, but then there's also family history or whatsoever. And this episode is very dear to my heart because I still have problems with it, even though now that I know about it and I've read about it, because it's just something that that really broke something inside of me. So it's still something that's not really present, but whenever I hear about it or whenever people tell me about it, I really feel it because I remember the pain, and sometimes I even get flashbacks because I've forgot a lot about it because I doubted myself so much. So first of all, now maybe a lot of people ask themselves, oh, what is gaslighting? I've never heard about it. So I'll try to explain it. Gaslighting is a form of manipulation, so it's an emotional manipulation. It's often performed by narcissists, but there's also a lot of other people who use it, so it doesn't necessarily have to come along with narcissism, but it's a tool in the toolbox of narcissists. But a lot of other people use it too. And like I said, it's used as a manipulation in a way to enforce power over others, to make people dependent on you, and to make people question their reality, so you can do with them whatever you want to do with them. So it's like a power game, like I'm holding the strings and you perform the way I want you to. So there is a lot of ways to manipulate people. Unfortunately, the most common form is PR, public relations, or propaganda, or advertising. This is manipulation too. It's a very recognized form of manipulation. It's so recognized that I studied it. But it's also manipulating. What happens with gaslighting, though, is that you try to really shatter a person's self-worth, self-esteem, self-trust, so that you can do whatever you want to do with that person. And that intention is very bad. Anyway, so it's a form of manipulation. It's a form of emotional abuse, because what the perpetrators do is they continuously question, or they continuously make the victims question their reality, And it usually starts out very innocent. It always starts out with lies, but the lies are small, and they don't happen that often. And they slowly get their victims into the web of lies, and they continuously make their victims question their reality, so that at some point the victims themselves don't believe in themselves anymore. They start gaslighting themselves because it has become part of their identity, part of their thought process. And what gaslighting looks like is, so let's take a love relationship as an example, because that's where I hear it the most often when people talk to me, or how I've experienced it very often. So you meet a person, let's say girl meets boy, and the boy is very charming and very nice, gives a lot of compliments, tells the girl how much he likes her, and that she's so different than everyone else, and that he has never felt something like that. So, like very typical things, and the girl gets hooked. They're in a relationship, and usually it's like a 3-month period, but, it can always differ. Where, trust starts building up, and love starts building up, and then it starts with small lies, like I said. So, for example, what's a small lie? Hey, didn't we say we meet at 8 o'clock for dinner? And then, the boy is maybe late and he's there at 8:30 or whatever. And then he says, no, that never happened. And then she's like, no, but I'm sure that we said it's 8. And then he says, no, we said 8:30. You must have gotten that wrong. You must have been up in your head. You must have been thinking about something else. I'm sure it was 8:30. And that's how it starts out. It's something very unimportant if you think about it. You could have just said, oh, sorry, I thought it's 8:30 and I'm late, and I'm sorry, and the situation would have been cleared. But what the perpetrator in that case does is he says that the victim is wrong about the time, and not that he's wrong, but the other person is wrong, and the woman loves the man, and she's like, yeah, oh, maybe I did get it wrong, because he doesn't say it in a way where he accuses her. He says it in a way where he's very sure about it. He's very gentle and sure about her getting it wrong, and he doesn't blame her for anything, or like not in a bad way, but he just, he says it was 8:30, and you start believing him, and it's those small lies, and then they continue and continue and continue until things like happen, like I don't know, like an envelope lies on the table and it's open, and the woman says, why did she open my envelope? And the man is like, I never opened it. It came like that. It's things, that an envelope would never come opened. And there hasn't been anybody at home but the man. But you start believing that he's right, because you're so confused about what to believe and what not to believe. You may even think, maybe I have opened it and I don't remember it. Because that other person has constantly questioned your reality. The word gaslighting comes from a movie, or actually a theater performance, which was called Gaslighting, where the lights of gas lamps were flickering, and the woman started noticing, and she told her husband about it, and he continuously said, no, they're not flickering, you're wrong about this. And this happened so often that she went crazy, like she actually went insane, because she saw something, but that husband who caused it kept denying her reality. So small lies that continuously happen. So, like the timing example, then the envelope example, which is a bit worse. But then there can be arguments, and then you get emotional because you got hurt, and then the other person says, why you're so emotional? There's nothing to be sensitive about it. You caused this. It's because you are always so emotional. I was gaslighted, like super bad. I was, shouted at and screamed at, and a lot of mean words happened, and then and a lot of other like physical acts, and then And I was driving off, I was crying, and I was like, remember this, remember this, remember this. I don't know why, because I haven't heard about gaslighting before. But I was like, I need to collect evidence, because somehow I felt like I am going crazy. I am crazy, but like in an insane way crazy. And then I got a message from that person saying, don't tell anyone about this, because they don't know how you are. So I was blamed for something that, like, literally, like, I did nothing, like nothing. And but that message actually was my, what do you say, rescue for my sanity, because whenever I started, because obviously we met again and then everything was denied, like that never happened. But I got the message, I got the evidence, where I got this message saying, don't tell anybody about it. And then I remembered the it. And yeah, and there's, like, for example, Mel B from the Spice Girls, I think. She wrote a book, and she was in a relationship with a man. I think they were even married. And he also physically abused her. And there were stories where, like, something like, she didn't want to take drugs anymore, and then he made her take drugs, and then he recorded her on drugs, and on the next day he blamed her for being such a bad drug abuser and showed her the videos. But he actually gave the drugs to her in a way like, don't be so boring, we always did that, why don't you do it now? So he made her do them, and then on the next day he used it against her. They do that with hobbies too. So let's say you like singing, and then they continuously tell you that can you please stop that? I know you like to do it, but it's not that good. Or maybe even in a more sneaky way and less obvious way, like, for your age you look really good. That's like the worst compliment you can get. But that would be an act of gaslighting. Yes, so that's gaslighting in a nutshell. What happens to the victims? The victims, they start questioning their reality. Like I said, they start questioning thoughts they get, because they're like, did this really happen or did this not happen? So everything they do, they question it. They start getting anxious. They start getting physical symptoms like pains in different areas. Maybe their heartbeat increases every time they're close to that person. But those those issues, they are used by the gaslighters against their victims again. Like, for example, you think you start developing a heart condition, and then you're like, yeah, like I told you, something's wrong with you. You're going crazy, or you're making this up, or something like that. They get anxious, and some people develop severe depression. They develop trust issues, obviously, because they can't trust anyone anymore. And usually the gaslighters tell that everyone else are liars, especially the friends of that person, so that something like isolation happens, because the more isolated the victim is, the easier the victim is to be manipulated. And yeah, also post-traumatic depression disorder can happen out of that, like a lot of stress-related diseases, and it can end up really, really bad. But the only solution is to get out. Wisdom. So now to the wisdom part. If you know somebody who is somehow involved in gaslighting, because it can also be in family, work, or whatsoever, or if it's yourself, the most important thing to start with is to realize it. If it's yourself that's involved, then congratulations that you have realized you're not weak, you're not stupid, or anything else. This can happen to basically anyone, especially if you're someone who's generally like really nice and always takes on the blame when something happens, or if you just generally want to make people happy, you're a people pleaser, for example, which is definitely my case. But it can happen to anyone, and usually they pick you when you're in a weak kind of situation. So after a breakup or after even something traumatic happened, whatsoever. So they pick victims that in this moment, for whatever reason, are not 100% stable in their personality, in their self-worth, in their self-esteem, and so on. And if you yourself have realized you're in this, then congratulations. It's really important now to get out. And no, they won't change. And no, you cannot change anyone. And no, don't give them a second chance, because this is an entire process. So the person starts love bombing you again, and then the gaslighting starts again. So whenever they see you don't trust them anymore, or you want to leave them or whatsoever, they start being really nice again. They play Prince Charming, but they play Prince Charming until they got you hooked again. And then the gaslighting starts again, because they need you in your web. And when you try to get your way out, they try to get you back in. They put a treat inside the spider web, and then you crawl back inside. And then they start their gaslighting process again. So no, you cannot change them. And maybe they will change, yes. But, you always have to think about how much pain this causes you, and how much pain this causes them. We only change if something is painful to us. And that's just a fact. And it's not painful to them, it's only painful to you. So their incentive to change is not very high. This works for them. So they might change, but I would not count on that. And you have to, in that case, you just have to think about yourself, and you have to see it for what it is. You have to be real about it. And what's also important is that you have to regain a sense of self-worth again, because when you are stable in yourself, when you are stable in your self-worth and your self-value, a person like that can't even enter your life. And you would never feel attracted to a person like that, because that person is constantly challenging your self-worth. And if you're a friend or someone who knows a person who's being gaslighted, then it's really important to stay in contact with them. They probably won't hear about your opinion, your criticism, as long as they are ready themselves. If anyone would have told me about gaslighting when I was in gaslighting relationships, I would have said, yeah, but you don't know the person like I do. I remember a friend of mine once said about a guy, Nina, he's not even pretty. and I was just yeah, but you don't know him. It's not about that, and I'm not about that. I wouldn't listen to him, and he meant well, but I would have never listened to him. I didn't listen to him. I didn't listen to my best friends. They all told me that person's just shit and you deserve better, or that person is treating you like shit. But I was no, I love him. And yeah, I had to go through that pain until I realized myself. But it was really important that I had my friends, that they constantly told me that is not normal. Don't do that. Don't stay in there. And that I could reach out to them every time, that they didn't cut me off or that I didn't cut them off. So if you're a friend, try to stay in contact with that friend, even if it's hard, because when they're ready, then they will need someone to talk to. They need someone to ask, am I crazy? Is this normal? Do you think that something's wrong with me? And then you can answer them and tell them all your observations and all your thoughts, because then they will be receptive for it. And after you get out, for me, it was like that, and I'm still kind of feeling that, that all men are evil. I know that it's not true. rationally, I know that that's not true, and I know that not all men are gaslighters, and not all men are narcissists, and there's a lot of good people out there. And this also happens the other way around. There's a lot of women who gaslight, and there's also a lot of women who are narcissists. But for me, it's still like there's still a part inside of me that's really hurt. And I still need to work with that part, because I can see how I mistrust a lot of people, especially men, and how I think they always have bad intentions in mind, and how I think they will gaslight me again. And then I kind of, there's something called self-fulfilling prophecy. So I twist situations in a way where I get gaslighted again, because I put it in that category. It's a little hard to explain right now with that example. But anyway, I relive the gaslighting experience, even with people that never even tried to gaslight me, because I'm so hurt in that way. And I so believe in this belief where men are evil and men gaslight, that sometimes, I relive it, and I not force it on people, but you could say it in that way. Self-fulfilling prophecies happen in a lot of areas, and they depend on our beliefs. Like, I always get cheated on. And for some reason, you do always get cheated on. But you also, like, for example, you don't see your controlling behavior. For example, you don't see how you build a prison around people. Can be anything. Like, I'm not saying it's your fault, but I hope I got the point across, that sometimes we manipulate situations ourselves so that we re-experience something, because we just have such a deep belief about something. We see things in people that wouldn't actually happen, but we add factors to the situations that then make them more probable to happen. And it's something you would say that's just stupid that we do that, but we humans, we just need to do that because we need to learn from those experiences again. But it's very important to break that self-fulfilling prophecy cycle. So that was another topic. Let's get back to the gaslighting. Anyway, so I still have trust issues, and I need to constantly work on them, and remind myself that I cannot fall victim of gaslighting if I know about it, and if I know my self-worth, because then I'm just like, no, I'm not entering a whatever kind of relationship like that, because the other person can't grab me. I'm not letting myself be treated into those webs again. And so if you just got out of a gaslighting relationship, you don't have to be scared. If you listen to the signs, if you inform yourself about gaslighting, maybe you read a book about it, I'll mention one later, or you just generally do exercises to work on your self-worth, to work on your self-trust, to work on your self-love, to really be with you. And I would recommend to do this in a coaching or therapeutic setting, because that's just easier when someone else is helping you through that. But then this can't happen to you again. And it takes a while, and there might be anxiety around it, there might be symptoms of depression, but you will get out of it, and you will get out of it very strong. Because if you have experienced mental abuse like that and you got out of it, you're really strong, you have to be really proud of yourself, and you can use that strength that you gained from that in many other areas. Maybe you can even how do you say that? Like, you can draw from that. Like, whenever you feel like you can't do something, you're like, yes, but I got through that. I managed to get out of that relationship. I managed to leave that person. I managed to regain my self-trust. And I've seen so many, in my case, women, because it's always girlfriends that tell me about it, that have blossomed out of relationships like that. They started doing their own thing. They started finding what they love. They started working on their projects and whatsoever. And it's really beautiful to see people blossom like that. And, I did that too. Like this happened to me too, and it's really beautiful to watch people. And yes, yes, I think that's all for today. Further material. So I talked a lot. I hope I got the point across. It's a very, how do you say, like a difficult topic. It's a topic where one episode is not enough. So it's very important to have some further material. For that, I would really recommend a YouTube channel I've already recommended by Dr. Romani. Dr. Romani is a psychiatrist who mostly talks about narcissism. But she includes gaslighting, but also scapegoating, which is something that happens in narcissistic family dynamics, where there's always one black sheep that's blamed. And it's really interesting. Her videos are they help me a lot. Then there is a book I just got from a friend. I only read it halfway through, but it's really good. It's short. It's like a short book. And very easy to read and very informative. And it's called Gaslighting the Silent Abuse, I think. I'll put a link in the description. And then there's also a short film on YouTube. It's about a gaslighting relationship, and it's also free to watch. And I wasn't able to watch it because it just triggered me so hard, in a way of I felt so much with that girl in the short film. So if you're really sensitive at the moment, I wouldn't watch it, I guess. I still haven't watched it, like I said, but I watched the beginning and then the end. And if you don't understand the concept of gaslighting yet, and you think you've never experienced, then I guess this is really this is a really good way of learning about it, because it's very practical, because it's a movie and the woman gets gaslighted by that man. And so I hope you liked this episode. I hope I got the point across. I'm not too sure. I went very far off script. Like I said, it's a very important topic to me. Maybe I'll do a follow-up episode on this. Maybe I'll do an interview once. With friends who want to participate. And if you have any questions or any topic suggestions, you can put it in the comments. You can subscribe. You can like. If you subscribe, it's very important for me, because then I can do more videos. Yes, I hope you have a really nice weekend. I hope I could teach you something, and I wish you a great weekend. I wish you a great Friday night, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye.